tonight's presentation is going to be on this little guy, which a lot of you do have. I know, Gary, you've got one. Jerry, you've got one. Who else has got one of these little creatures?
I do.
All right.
I do.
All right, look at that. Oh! So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about WIRES-X and putting this thing. Now, most of you know probably more about WIRES-X than I do. So bear with me if you will. Entertain me a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start the presentation if that's all right with everybody. Basically, like I said, a lot of you folks know all about WIRES-X anyway, so I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail about it, but there's a few things you should know. So basically, this is how to put the FT-70D on remotely with a WIRES-X node or WIRES-X itself. So that's the whole purpose of this little presentation. I bought one of these FT-70s because, number one, it was cheap. The price was good. It had dual band operation, which is what I wanted. It did C4 FM and it did analog, but it doesn't do WIRES-X portable digital node capability like the bigger ones like the FT2, 3, and 5. So this presentation is basically to show how to connect the FT-70 in fusion mode to, I've got an FTM300 running right now over on WIRES-X over in the other room. And so I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to demo that with Aubrey, VE1TE, who's down in Quispam Sys, and he's got similar setup. So, all right, a little bit of background, not a big thing. Again, a lot of people know about this, and I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but it's basically Yaesu has done a very, very clever marketing strategy with this WIRES-X system. It's basically voice over IP. And they use C4 FM as their main carrier, and then they put Fusion on top of that. And so WIRES-X started out as WIRES, and then it came into WIRES-2, and then it came into WIRES-X, and that's what we have these days. So basically, Yaesu has implemented their system fusion using C4 FM, FD-FM, which is actually a standard, is a 4-level frequency shift keying technology to transmit digital voice and data, but they did a little bit more to it. They added the fusion, and as most people know, the WIRES-X itself is fairly wideband. C4 FM is 12.5 kilohertz. So I just showed you in that here's sideband, AM, FM, FDMA, and here's what we are in fusion. And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because, again, a lot of you people know about that. One point I want to bring out here is that this fusion or C4 FM that Yaesu has implemented sets the other digital voice technologies such as D-Star, DMR, and such, is that it's backward compatible analog AM. In other words, you can run an analog FM radio over fusion. That's their claim to fame. I haven't done it yet, but I'll show you the box that will do that, where the other ones are all digital. So, but this demonstration is all going to be digital. So, you can see this is just a ISO 5-layer IP network that's implemented. They have physical layer, which is 1 and such right up to 5. And where Yaesu has done is that they've layered their fusion and the C4 FM on the application layer. Again, just more for information. I'm not going to tell you how it works because I don't. So it just let you know it's using standard IP networking layering. And Yaesu's done again, like all the other protocols like DMR, they're using the application layer, but Yaesu is doing theirs. Plus, like I say, it's backward compatible with the FM analog. Again, I'm not going to go through a lot of things here. These are just some descriptions. What we're going to do here is that I've got a local node. Local node for me is I've got a station set up on my FTM300. I'm running it on 445.850 simplex, and I'm going to basically use my handy to get into that. So anyway, And we're also going to demonstrate a little bit about the DTMP IDs, the 5-digit numbers we can plug into the FT-70 to change rooms. So again, I'm not going to go into a lot of this. It's going to be in the presentation and you can read it at a later time. This is my setup right now as it's running. I've got my FT-70 down here. Well, it's right here. Whoop, right here. I'm running it into FTM-300D, and I've got it set at 445.85 megahertz simplex. And then to a station computer, it's running MI0SDY, and it's running the newer version 1540, which seems to be a little bit more stable than the other guy. And then off into the internet world and out the other side. So that's my setup that we're going to use tonight. So how do I set my node up? Well, Aubrey and I went back and forth, and there was some other people, VE1LV Hal in Truro. So what I did is I put together a document. I put together a document that Yaesu's got some good documentation, but sometimes you just hard to read some of this stuff at times because it goes up to a point and then they don't tell you everything. There is a lot of videos on YouTube how to configure these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and just really quickly go through this list. And this list is available from the presentation. If anybody wants this document, it is in a Word document I can send to you. There's basically nothing new under the sun here. Everything is standard stuff. And again, a lot of you folks have done this as well. So probably Gary, you've done this, probably Charles, you've done this. And so I'm not telling you anything new here. You know this probably better than I do. So the first thing I did is I updated and installed the new version of MI0SDY, version 1450. And it can be obtained from the Yaesu website, and everybody who's done this, that's where that program resides. If you're updating your MI0SDY program, the configuration files will be retained with the new version, but being a little anal as I am, I exported the configuration file just so that in case that something went weird, it would be retained. So one point here, this next point, when installing MI0SDY software, a designation folder will come up. And how many of you got into this, have seen this before? For you, Gary, you've seen this. Charles, you've seen this. Yeah. So there's a check mark that says enables MI0SDY auto start. In other words, it will start when your computer boots, or if the program goes south on you, it will actually reboot itself and come back up again. Normally, I don't check this because in the past, my computer worked fine. Aubrey had problems with his computer where MI0SDY would run for a day or two and then it would just stop, go away. So on his computer, he's got this enabled and it's been working good for him. So you don't enable that, but also I found, even though I didn't enable this, is that when I collapsed or turned the MI0SDY off, it would come back on again. And I said, oh, what's going on? Well, there's a little program under the task manager called ymlan, and basically you have to remove it if you want MI0SDY not to be automatically reloaded when closed or rebooted. So anyway, just a little point there. So again, once MI0SDY is loaded, you click on the MI0SDY software icon and up it will come. Now, this is where we get into the MI0SDY. Now, Gary and Charles, you've all done this mode, right? You put it in MI0SDY mode, not PDN mode. Okay. A lot of people go right into PDN mode. We chose MI0SDY mode because MI0SDY you can talk both analog and digital rooms out there. So in PDN mode, you can only talk digital. So MI0SDY is where we went to. So under file, under transceiver, under one of the drop downs, you'll you'll input the frequency of your node that you want to configure, and your DG ID is set to 00, and your power level, depending on whether you want high, low, or medium. And this will transfer that information to your radio, whether it's a 300 or 100 or 200 or whatever, or 400, whatever you've got. So that will do it automatically for you. And again, people who have done this is very simple, is that if you want to configure your 300 or 100, 200 or 400 or whatever model of Yaesu radio you have for your node, you can either put it into PDN mode, DX plus power, or your wires X mode, GM plus DX plus power, and then on the selected simplex frequency. And I do have an Appendix A that's in the other document that shows you all the stuff with regards to that. This second point, select the simplex frequency on the FT-70 to communicate with the 300, save it in memory. I chose 445.850, and I checked with the RAC band plan for 70 centimeters because that is a linking frequency. So you should make sure, if you're going to set up a node on whatever it's on VHF or UHF, to check the RAC band plan, because you could be interfering. And then when you click the AB button, and again, I'm going to show you all this as we go through the demo, you can either select the radio. This is the 300 I'm talking about, either into direct or access mode. And so if we want to remote operate with the 770, you select access mode, and the simplex frequency on your radio, again, the 300, 200, for 300, 400 will be displayed. And then that's the procedure to connect it to wires X. And again, a few notes here: when you're in access mode, in the PDN mode, you can connect to wires X. You can transmit over the internet as well as on the frequency of the 300. When you're in access mode in wires X mode, you cannot, and they're connected to wires X, you cannot transmit on the mic with your node. So again, just a little bit of a note. If you go on page 30 of the FT-70D operating manual, again, a lot of you folks have done this. It will show you how to connect to basically a repeater, like a fusion repeater, and start entering your nodes if you want to. The 70 has a capability of 5 memories, of which you can put various room numbers in. And I'm not going to go through this procedure because some of you have done this already. Gary and Charles, you've done this, and Gary, you've done this already, right? So you know all about this. You can probably talk better than I can. So anyway, there's a procedure to connect the 70 to, like, the fusion repeater. I did it to VE9FNB and connected to it, and there I was. And then I could actually change the nodes on the repeater, but I don't like doing that because I think Charles doesn't like me doing that.
As long as it's not during the nuts, you're okay.
No, I'd rather not do that, Charles. I just because I probably would make a mistake and then leave it there. I know it'll time out and revert back to CQ Maritime. Anyway, this procedure is documented. I'm not going to go through it step by step. I'm going to show you on this thing as we go through. And then what we found, or at least I found, I can use the FT-70 with my node and then change frequencies or change rooms with the memory, or else I can go into the entry point and actually put in the 5 digits numbers and go to any room I want that's listed from the Yaesu sites. And again, the whole point of this is that I'm using wires X because I'm going to go on analog and digital, and I'll show you there's one analog room we'll go into tonight. So that's basically it. Again, if anybody wants this tutorial on how to set it up, I'll be more than willing to share that, but I'm not going to go through step by step because, again, a lot of folks have already done this, and that would be boorish. All right. Gary, anything you want to add?
Charles helped me immensely. It's
Charles,
it's good to have somebody that's been through the process, and you learn, and then it comes easier.
That's right. And Jerry, have you set your 70 up to go through like various rooms?
No, I haven't done that yet, Murray.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep on rolling here. Any questions thus far? I think we're about ready to do a demo. I'm going to get Aubrey on here, so we'll check it out.
I have one quick question, Murray. So it's been a while since I accessed FNB, even like the actual repeater. So when you do your own node, do you first access your node with your node ID?
Yeah.
And then you change rooms and stuff from there.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I don't have to go on, even though I can hit the repeater up here with my handheld at with only half a watt. I usually go through the node. And so right now, if somebody has, you can access my node right now because it's on 445.85 right now. And I know I can get it all the way down into Douglas from home, and I'm only running 5 watts on the node, and I'm only running 2 watts on this thing. So, all right, I'm going to give Aubrey a call. I've got mine set up. It's on, I've called it Wires X, and it's on, whoops, sorry, apologize for that, 445.850, okay? So I'm going to connect to my node, which I do. I'm going to hit the function key and the AMS key. All right, I am connected to my node VE1TE, okay? Now at this point, I'm not connected to Wires X. I'm just connected to my node, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to connect to one of the rooms I've got programmed. So in here, so I've got CQ Maritime. Sorry about that, folks. Everything's backwards on my, so I got CQ Maritimes, I've got CQ Canada, I've got several of them in here, Australia repeater, I've got one I'm going to talk to Aubrey on right now, and Florida. So I'm going to go back to this K2IZD. It's in Hudson, New York. It's an analog and digital repeater. So I've got it displayed. I'm going to press the push to talk, and it should connect. And it says connect, and I'm going to give Aubrey a call. VE1OL, VE1 Tango Echo. You copy, Aubrey, over.
VE1TE, VE1OL, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, good, Aubrey. We just went through the presentation, and we're on here. So now what I'm going to do is that let's switch to CQ Maritimes, and anybody who's got their radios on, you can, get the VE9 FNB repeater, and you can hear us talk. So let's go over to the CQ Maritimes room, Aubrey, over.
Okay, if we get there and it's busy, let's go to CQ Canada. But anyway, I'll go to CQ Maritime now. This is VE1OL.
Okay, Aubrey, good. I'll switch right over. Okay, now I'm still connected to this room down in Hudson, New York. Now I'm going to switch to CQ Maritimes. All I'm going to do is switch over to bring up the CQ Maritimes display. It's in memory number 1, and I'm going to hit the key. Okay, so I didn't have to disconnect or anything. All I did is just switch to the different room. Bang, there I am. So anybody who's monitoring, there you go, Jerry. You're monitoring the fusion repeater in Fredericton. Give me a call.
VE1TE, VE1OL.
And there's Aubrey. Loud and clear, Aubrey. We got Jerry on there now. Go ahead, Jerry.
VE1TE, VE9CD, how you copy?
100%. As of course, you can hear all the delays in there on this system, but so we can switch between various rooms with this, and I'll let go. You can switch various rooms by
Loud and clear. Murray, you want to go to CQ Canada? But before we do that, I just want to say hello to anybody that's listening there at the Fredericton Club get together. It's been a pleasure to get on here with you, and I sure enjoy the FT-70D. I've got 5 channels in the memory here: CQ Canada, CQ Maritimes, and 3 other ones. And it's just a matter of turning the dial and press the mic switch, and I'm there. Anyway, back to you, Murray, and you tell me what you'd like to do there next. This is VE1OL.
Okay, so
Murray?
anyway, that's so I'm connected to CQ Maritimes, and Gary, you've seen that as well. You can see who you're connected to and what your last connection was, and also the entry, like you've done the entry thing too. You can put the 5 digits in and away you go to whatever room you want to go to, right? I'm going to go on America Link. Okay. Now this is going to be kind of crazy because it's going to be probably busy, but I'm going to go to America Link. What I'm going to do is bring up, it's called the entry screen. And I'm going to type in 21080 and press the AMS key.
MI0SDY, you copy? KC3KUB, United States template.
Now I'm on CQ, or I'm on America Link, which is
Okay,
a very, very busy, a very, very busy one. So anyway, just wanted to let you know, all I have to do is just whatever, if I don't have enough memories.
Good here in Northeast Pennsylvania, about 90 miles west of New York City. Over.
And you can just type in those 5 digits to any room and away you go. So, I mean, you can do the same thing on VE9FNB, same thing, but I'm just going through my node. So, okay, I disconnected because I don't want to hear all that chatter on there. So that's basically I got to give Aubrey a call. Just a sec.
He's just standing by on CQ Maritime.
Okay, thank you. V1OL, V1 Tango Echo, you copy, Aubrey?
VE1TE, VE1OL, yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm pretty well done the demonstration here. So thanks, Aubrey, for your help, and we'll be talking on this, or we'll be talking on some other mode. Over.
Okay, did you want to go to CQ Canada?
Oh, I don't think so. I think people have seen all that. Or I mean, I went over to the America Link and showed them that, and there was some chatter on that. So I think we're good, Aubrey, unless anybody wants to see something else on here. Okay.
Well, I'll just stand by here in case there's anything more. VE1OL. Talking to you on my FT-70 sitting here in the kitchen.
Thanks, Aubrey. Appreciate the help, and take care. We'll be talking. V1OL, V1TE. Okay.
My FTM 300, which I'm working through, is connected to my vertical antenna, so that I have several miles of coverage around the Chris area, just using my FT-70. Okay, we'll talk to you later. I'll just stand by here in case. VE1OL.
Thanks, Aubrey. Appreciate your help. V1TE. Okay, that's basically the talk on that. It's the reason we get into that because Aubrey was playing around with a lot of that, and he can only hit. There's no CQ Maritime node around his area in Quispam-Cis. He can get the Sussex repeater a bit, but it's not all that good. So what we started looking at, I said, well, maybe we can I know we can program these FT-70s. So we set his up and we got his running. So, and I did the same. And so now Aubrey, he can sit up in his kitchen and with his 70 and he can go anywhere on Fusion. So for him, it was a kind of a godsend that he didn't have to worry about hitting repeaters or things like that. So it worked out good for him. So anybody who's got a 70 and there's want to either set up your own remote node or else collaborate with somebody else with a remote node, you can do the same thing. So this is just a quick demo. Again, a lot of people have done the same thing. Nothing new underneath the sun here. It's just shows you that it is easy to do. It's not hard. Do we have any questions?
No, I have my node, Murray, on 445,900.
Oh, I got to write that down. What was it?
445,900.
Okay.
I'm just,
I
put another antenna up, so I'm going to switch over to it. I just had a dual band whip on my metal roof there, temporary, so.
Yeah. Well, I may try that if that's okay, Gary, and just see if I can't get in there.
Well, it probably won't work till I change it over. I got to check, make sure the antenna's good before I switch over to it.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Well, I'm running mine on that diamond dual bander, and so like I'm looking right down into Fredericton, so I can pretty hit anything. I can walk up and down the ridge and hit my node, but anyway.
But I printed the manual off and was good bedtime reading all 127 pages of it.
Yeah, right. And did you find it informative?
Well, it happens. It's better. Like I was working. Charles came over and stepped me through stuff, and it's good to read the manual and then have somebody step you through it. It all comes to light then.
I wrote stuff down because number one, I'll forget it. Number two, I needed because I wanted to give Aubrey and some of the other guys that were playing around with this stuff a little bit of info. So,
Murray,
yes, sir.
You said that V1OL cannot get into a repeater. Now, does he have his own node?
Yep. So
Oh.
he's got an FTM300, same as I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you set him up the same as you are.
Same thing, and then
Okay.
he's running on a simplex UHF frequency, connected to wires that he has his connected all the time. But what his problem was, wires X would load up fine, but then after a couple hours it would just go away. So Aubrey, he'd have to go and reboot his computer. So we reinstalled the later version, this 1540, and then we enabled it just so that if it reboots or upon startup, it will always start up. And he hasn't had a problem since. So he's quite happy because he really doesn't want to go down and bother the computer. So
That's something else we might add, Murray, is that you've got to have a separate computer really running your node. So
absolutely, I've tried to run this with FT8. Guess what? It won't work. So no, it's like I don't leave my node up a lot, Gary. It's only when I want to play a little bit. But if I go on FT8, for example, wires X comes down. I don't want it around. So because it wants to share the microphone with Mr. FT8. So no, good point, Gary. It's you've got to have your own kind of separate machine. So any other questions?
Do you guys have what do you have your rooms defaulting to, like for your own nodes? Like,
Well,
do you
my-
have it on?
My own note, I don't default to anything.
Okay,
Now, Gary, you may default to something.
Well, I have it hooked up, but it's not connected to a room. I mean, anybody
Okay.
could anybody
Yeah.
can log in and bring up wires X and log in, but I think I'll leave it on that. I got a 300 like you, and but when I get Jerry, you might even be able to get into my node once I get the other antenna going there, and from your place, you know, I don't know what the coverage will be around town, but it's not good with just a little whip aerial, but it serves my house fine, but I don't know what the range is. I haven't gone out, but I got a single Sinclair loop I just put up higher, and so I'm going to get that hooked into it. So somebody in the area, maybe Charles can get into it, or somebody, you know.
Yeah, I'll give it a test soon.
Yeah, and so there you go, Jerry. You don't have to buy a 300. You can just get into Gary's Gary's node with your FT-70. So
I was going to ask if Charles, if you have a node as well.
I just operate the club one here, as you know, and it's an FTM 100. The 300 wasn't out 2 years ago when we set it up, but so it's difficult to run two nodes in one house, but that we have to be real careful with cabling and filtering and stuff. I just want to comment too that it was good exercise for me to work with Gary on his 300 there, because it was kind of a refresher, and it's also works slightly different than the 100.
So Jerry, if you wanted to go into the one that Charles has, you'd have to go in on the repeater pairs to get into it. Whereas we're running, Murray and I and everyone's running simplex on UHF frequencies.
Jerry, we'll have to do a test sometime, and when I have my node up, to see if you can hit it.
Sure, anytime.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions?
Glad to see you're working with this and fine tuning everything there.
Yeah, and thank you for your comments as well, because I leaned on you a couple of times on some issues. So thank you, Charles.
Sounds great.
By the way, you can go through a node with analog, but you have to have one of these little guys. So I haven't hooked this thing up yet, but according to Yaesu, if I get this all configured and put it on, I can put my old FT or my old Yaesu analog handheld and get into fusion with this thing. So we'll see. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Hope it helped. And if you have any questions, or if you need any other further stuff I've got here, you're more than welcome to it. You can always call me anytime, and I'll be more than glad to help out. Thank you.